Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all identities and sexualities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today is another two-part review. First, we will be starting with Parting of the Ways and Badwolf. Badwolf and Parting of the Ways, I should say. And then we will be continuing on the review into Doomsday and Army of Ghosts. So, sit back, grab your sonic screwdrivers, your fezzes, your jammy dodgers, your jelly babies, and prepare to embark on a story of a lifetime. So Badwolf sets us off, starting on Satellite 5. Well, it used to be called Satellite 5. Now it's called the Badwolf Company. A company that provides game shows in which the contestants put their very life on the line. The Doctor and Linda with a Y find themselves trapped in the Big Brother house. Meanwhile, the famous Captain Jack is trapped in a makeover. Basically, his own paradise. Well, until they say face off, meaning that they literally want to take his body parts and stick them, well, I think your imagination can tell you more. But the Doctor and Jack find their way out of the games. Meanwhile, Rose is stuck elsewhere in a game in which she has to fight for her life. The Doctor and Jack and Linda with a Y begin infiltrating the station, doing their best all to get to Rose in time. But soon they will find their efforts are going to not go the way they planned. Rose is trapped in a version of the Weakest Link, using an android in which tells them the contestants questions in hopes that each round they will knock a new contestant out. But little do they know that the android will eliminate each player's life as the story progresses. At first, Rose sees it as a joke until she eventually realizes the consequences of her actions and that everyone that she has voted out in the game has died. Meanwhile, she is stuck next to a greedy, malicious businessman whose only aim is to kill everyone in the game and secure himself a money prize. He does this at even the cost of Rose's life, meaning that at the end of the game, when it comes neck and neck at the questions, he wins and Rose loses, and forfeits Rose's life. After what the Doctor believes to be Rose's death, he is taken into captive by the station security. They break out of the security lockdown and find themselves running towards the bridge in hopes of finding answers to their never-ending questions of what is going on the game station. Linda points out that the station is run by Badwolf, their lord and masters. The Doctor recognizes Badwolf as it has been following him everywhere he has been going, but at first he thought it was a coincidence. Now he begins to get a sinister dread in his heart, as he soon begins to realize that the game they are playing is much bigger than anyone else can possibly see. Once they reach the bridge, the Doctor begins to question the controller as to what is going on, as if to ask the question why everything is running the way it is. The controller points out that she is not in control, but her masters are. Her masters fear the Doctor, and that they have put him in the game and his friends to put them out of the way. But little did they know that they would survive the games, and so this has caused a problem for her masters. Her masters constantly send numbers into her head, driving her insane. But soon she gives the Doctor the coordinates of where her masters are located under the sonar, and this in turn causes her masters to teleport her to the ship and exterminate her. Well, I shouldn't have used the word exterminate, but I think you know what's happening next. So, the Doctor finds the sonar and discovers that ships have been sitting over the planet Earth, manipulating the history of the human race for years, only to discover it is his greatest enemy, the Daleks, and they have been waiting a very long time to invade and destroy the human race once and for all. As the story begins to cross over into the second path of its evolution,
We soon find the Doctor and Jack boarding the Dalek spaceship to discover that Rose Tyler has been teleported to the spaceship and not killed that we first thought. We soon learn that there is a bigger evil behind it, so the Doctor begins to ask the Daleks who's behind the creation of their new race and why they are here in the first place. The big almighty Dalek sitting on high begins to talk.
They were born through me.
The Doctor looks up, and at his horror, he finds himself face to face with the Emperor of the Daleks, one of the most malevolent Daleks in all of Dalek history, sitting on high, with the power of a god, creating life out of death. He points out that the bodies of prisoners and refugees and anyone from the game station had all gone to the Daleks, giving them the motivation to create new Dalek beings, but that would make them impure. The reason the Emperor has chosen this route, even though it's blasphemy to the Dalek race, is because it is the only way to sustain the Daleks, especially after them being crashed and shattered, escaping the Time War, which happened a very long time. As the Doctor and his friends return to the space station, they are faced with the biggest war they are about to fight. The Doctor has a very unethical choice to make. He must now decide between genocide and a tidal wave, whether to let the Daleks live and rule and conquer, or save the human race by destroying the entire Dalek fleet and destroying himself in the process. A giant delta wave. A wave that wouldn't know the difference between Daleks and humans alike. Meanwhile, downstairs, Jack is trying to rally the human race to fighting the Dalek cause, but many people in the game station don't believe that the Daleks exist. This is due to the fact that they believe that the Daleks were wiped out years ago, that there is no such thing as a Dalek anymore. But as the station begins to be attacked, everyone begins to believe, and sadly, a whole massacre leads to a long line of people being massacred downstairs, whilst people upstairs wait their inevitable doom as the Daleks begin to climb the floors. In doing so, they end up even taking out Linda with a Y as she begins to fiddle with a service box. As the tides begin to close in and the Doctor has little choice, he decides to send Rose home. He does this in hopes that he will be able to save her. But, to his dismay, Rose is resilient and decides to come home, back to him, in hopes that she can save him. She uses the heart of the TARDIS and consumes it inside of her soul. This causes her to become a god being. She begins to crush the Dalek race and scatter them into atoms, destroying the Emperor and everyone else in turn, leaving them scattered through time and space. But the problem is the power is too much for her, and she finds herself with a choice of whether to die as she is, or to finally let go of the power. Sadly for her, the power is too much, and the Doctor has to take it away from her. In doing so, he begins to absorb the excess radiation, causing himself to die. This means that later on in the story, the Doctor begins to hide his regeneration until the very moment when he knows it's too late. He's absorbed way too much of it, and even though he tried to get rid of it, it's too late, and his life is finally at an end. So parting of the ways and the Badwolf. Overall, as a story, I have to give it a solid 9 out of 10. It has very strong moments and very weak moments. Personally, to me, I believe that most of the weak moments are usually when Rose is back home. I like the justification for them pointing out that she could live a normal life, she could get on with it, but scenes as the fact that she does go back to the space station, that's the only thing that I think makes this story a little bit weak. Other than that, the battles, the massacres, the twists and the turns, it is an overarching story that is absolutely fantastic. Now I think it's time to tell you the story of how Rose Tyler died. Well, maybe not. Maybe. You'll have to watch the rest of the review to find out. So the army of ghosts starts off with the Doctor and Rose returning back to Earth, finding that these ghost shifts have been making a wave in the human race. The human race have become so obsessed with bringing the dead back that they believe that this shift that has turned up is a blessing in disguise. Little do they know that Torchwood has been manipulating the rift to bring through these ghosts, but little do they know that they have no clue what they are, who they are, and why they are breaking down the barriers. As the Doctor and Rose infiltrate Torchwood with the help of Jackie, Rose's mum, they soon learn that there is two powers at play. One is a void ship that no one seems to be able to open, and two are the army of ghosts and the disappearances around the site. Soon they learn that the disappearances are due to the Cybermen, who have broken through the rift first, and then they were followed by the void ship, a ship that still is unknown, but anyone that goes near it begins to feel very sad and very upset. They don't know why, but it just seems to get into their head. As the army of ghosts concludes, we learn that the Daleks have been hiding inside of the void ship, waiting and watching, just as they know that the barriers break down enough to destroy and let anything through the void into their reality. Doomsday opens with the Cybermen fully infiltrating Torchwood, taking full control of operations, waiting to find out what has been in the sphere ship. The Doctor himself, being curious, finds on a monitor that the Daleks are waiting downstairs and that Rose is trapped down there. After discovering that the Daleks are downstairs, the Cybermen decide to send a scout to infiltrate their ranks and find out their purpose for being in the same place at the same time. This begins a civil war when the Daleks point out that the Cybermen are better at dying and that the Daleks would only need one Dalek to destroy a whole legion of Cybermen in comparison. After escaping the Cybermen, the Doctor travels downstairs and meets back up with his old enemies, the Daleks. He begins to ask exactly what they're doing downstairs, and they point out that they have procured something known as a Genesis Ark. The Doctor points out that he has no clue what the Genesis Ark is, but he does know that both sides had secrets back in the Time War. The Daleks point out that they are going to use the Genesis Ark to revive the Dalek population, and soon or later, one touch of a human brings it back to life, just like the Dalek that Rose found in the story Dalek. The civil war between the Dalek and the Cybermen rages throughout Torchwood as the Cybermen begin to emerge on the Daleks, and the Daleks begin to wound and destroy many Cybermen in the process, making way for them to leave the roof hatch and begin their plan of rebuilding the Daleks. Soon the Doctor realizes that the Genesis Ark wasn't just any machine, but it was a prison made to lock Daleks from the Time War in, keeping them in stasis, keeping them locked away for millennia, until the ship was reactivated and let all the prisoners locked inside out. As a solution, with the help of Pete Tyler from Earth 2, the Doctor begins to come up with a trap. Him and Rose must use power clamps and must suck the Cybermen and all the Daleks back into the void, scattering them in the blackness, in the darkness, in the shadow, in hopes to lock them away once and for all. But this plan doesn't quite go to plan, as in trying to trap all the Daleks and Cybermen, during the final shift, as the Daleks and Cybermen begin to disappear into the nothingness, Rose begins to slip, and she ends up letting go. The Doctor believes he's lost Rose, but soon learns that this is not the case. She is lost, but not truly. Pete Tyler, just at the last second, manages to save her, sending her back to his world to live a normal and happy life. But Rose is not content, and it falls on the Doctor to meet with her one last time. He burns out a dying star just to say goodbye. And as he does, on the beach of Dalek and Stragan, the pair say their final goodbyes. The Doctor goes to say the words he's always wanted to say to her, but sadly, it doesn't happen. And the two are separated once and for all. So Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Well, I'll be honest, they're both just a 10 out of 10. It's a heartbroken tragedy played in the best way possible. Hard-hitting, a massacre of a story with tension and build-up and gradual acceleration with the way that every character gets their own thing to do and their own arc to resolve in this story, and it is beautifully demonstrated, and for that reason it's a 10 out of 10. Now, just before I end this video, if you're someone that likes watching the Doctor get trapped in a TV show, or watching a Dalek in Cyberman Civil War, might I just suggest to you the Big Finish story, The Trial of a Time Lord. The Trials of a Time Lord is a brilliant showstopper of a story, where the sixth incarnation of the Doctor is trapped within a TV show. But little does he know, it's a TV show within a TV show, and just to top it all off, the Cybermen and the Daleks invade the station and begin to have a civil war between each other. Davros is even also a prisoner in this story, and it is a very fun little twist to a commemoration to the two stories we have talked about in this story, Doomsday and Badwolf and Parting of the Ways, along with Army and Ghost. It kind of ties into that, and I can see where the writer I could be wrong, but they may have got inspiration for this story. And I do think it's brilliant when we start to have stories where the Doctor isn't in control of the plot. So if you like those types of story, I'm not getting paid as an advertisement for this, but just as a suggestion, The Trials of a Time Lord. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in another Doctor Who review. Until then, stay amazing.